with all this over the top intensity right now, I was being called to just do a little in between eclipses pep talk, just to kind of, for myself and to share with everybody else. Because, I mean, we are just in unprecedented times every single day, every moment, more and more so as everything escalates. And, all these ascension energies just keep building and building and building. So, you know, the intensity of this period can not be understated. And so, whatever stage of your journey you're in, struggling, really struggling, okay, great, just you have to get to that place of trusting that everything is perfect. Everything is perfect. And to just remember that, any ascension challenges and struggles that you're personally going through is really earth service. Nothing that you're doing in this lifetime is just about you. Everything is about these larger shifts and cycles, clearing out these ages and ages and ages of density, out of multiple lifetimes, multiple timelines, multiple dimensions. It cannot be, you know, I just cannot state the profundity. Our limited little monkey brains just cannot wrap around the immensity and the enormity of what we are undertaking. So, I just wanted to say that, when you're facing your daily challenges, just remember that you're doing this for the collective as well. As you rise up, as you face your shadow, as you work through stuff, as stuff leaps in your face, and instead of running away, you really face it and work through it. You're doing it for yourself, but you're also creating openings for everybody else on the planet to follow behind you. So you just have to trust in the larger, stepped back view of these huge cycles. Of we're all this vital and yet microscopic parts of this whole process, both at the same time. You know what I mean? So, just to reassure yourself that the emotional purging, the intellectual challenges, just all of it is service. I'm just trying to look at everything I'm experiencing and everything else everybody else is experiencing as service. Nothing's just about each individual. It's about the collective. It's about shifting these larger collective energies in the time that it's meant to happen. And I do know, I personally have been on my, spiritual awakening journey for, 36 plus years now. And I've gone through tons of shifts. And I mean, I look back at, my early 20s and the early 90s and just how far things have just have come. It's just mind blowing. It really is. But, I think some of us that have been on spiritual path for a long time, especially at this time, this last Pisces lunar eclipse, it was such a closeout and such a like closing out old harmonics and old densities and old timelines and just this real just purge of stuff. And so, you may have been going through your journey for, like me, your spiritual journey for quite some time and worked through stuff. And then all of a sudden, these things are rising back and you end up in your face. And you're like, hey, I thought I worked through this. Am I regressing? Am I failing? Am I, the chatter, blah, 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 blah. I'm not doing it right, blah, 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 blah. And, that's the other thing to remember, that yes, in your own personal timing and the larger timing of the planet in the past, you worked through those issues, around that. But, you have to remember that everything is a spiral, and so you're spiraling up through your frequencies and energies, and you're gonna meet that from another place. As you keep spiraling up, you keep meeting that issue at another point of view, another more refined place, and then address it. And so it's ever refining and cleansing of that. And so, now we're at the point, now and, these next years that are coming up, where it's really like the closeout. It's the closeout sale. Everything must go, all the density must go. So even though you've worked through some of these things, maybe in several versions over the years, now it's like the closeout time. So regardless of how much you've processed, regardless of how much you've worked through that issue, it was still on the planet, and you still were tied into that harmonic because that energy was still on the planet. And so a lot of those things now, that's where you hit the individual versus collective timing. You can be all on your game and, caught up with yourself and your shifts and your changes, but you're still in that larger collective timing, and some things, they leave when they're ready to leave in that perfect timing. And that's where we're at right now, is where things are really starting to leave really core, old, dense human bullshit. and, and so as these are getting cleared out, even though you've worked through a lot of levels of it, there's still an attachment to it that you need to release in this final time. So it's not, when you're revisiting some of these things that you've thought you've worked through over the years, it's not a failing, it's not regressing, it's totally perfect. It's a perfect, it's like the cherry on top. You did all this work to help move this for yourself and the collective, and now it's time to really, like, ooh, just do that full on release. So again, I just wanted to cycle back because I keep telling myself, because it's really, really intense. And of course, like all the days right now, you feel like you live like 20 million days in the same day. Now I'm down, now I'm up, now I'm inspired, now I'm flat. It's just, it really is the three-ring circus right now. So again, just to take that larger perspective, everything, every challenge, if you're going through wonderful stuff, that's amazing. If you're going through challenging stuff, that's also amazing, because you are always clearing stuff for the collective. None of us is here. They talk about how many billions and billions of beings wanted to be here on the earth at this time, and only the people that were really cut out for, we're on the cutting edge of excavating this level of density and it's never happened before. We've never held on to our physical bodies and released all of this third dimensional linear density before. So again, it all cycles around to be gentle with yourself, trust the process, know that it's all going to be okay, and that everything you're going through is service. All of your ascension struggles and challenges are really service to the collective. So just keep that in mind. We've got a few day countdown to this next coming solar eclipse in Virgo. And, this new moon definitely seems like a bit of a reset, but also, don't create it. At this point, I have to also say, in all of this ascension stuff, try not, it's good to stay up with things, transits, what's going on in the collective and what people are talking about, but try not to create personal expectations based on any of that, because we really are all in our own individual timelines, our own individual unfoldings that have nothing to do with anybody else. Even though we're embedded in the collective, but that's part of the perfection of, each one of us being a unique fractal of source, in the perfect place and circumstances, just mesh those perfect frequencies that are part of our service. So again, I just wanted to give a heads up. So hopefully this new moon will be a little bit of a reset and maybe a reboot out of some of this heavier Piscean release from this lunar eclipse. But if not, again, no expectations. Just know that it's all perfect, however it's unfolding for you, and that we all face our challenges and we all face our uplifting moments, even though they seem like they're a little more rare lately. But anyway, needless to say, hang in there. We're all in this together. And until next time, in love and light.
Rebirth. I'm done with that. I'm right on track. I'm done with that. I'm right on track. I'm done with that. I'm right on